Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 6, Coaches Connection, Mastering Youth Sports. Today, Coach Sergio will not be available, unfortunately, but he'll be back on in the next few episodes for sure. But today we got a super special guest, close friend of mine, really super cool dude, super knowledgeable dude, knows a lot about an array of things. I would say another new age renaissance man of sorts, like myself. And ex Hooper. Welcome you guys to the show. JR.
Appreciate you, bro. Be here.
Welcome, welcome, man. All right, how you feeling today?
I'm solid, man. Got a workout in. Woke up today, so can't complain.
Nice, nice. So yeah, we get started with that motto, right? Every day you move your body, it's a blessing, right?
Yes, sir. That's definitely more than a mantra for me, but yeah, I live by that, bro. It's definitely like my truth.
Yeah, that's super cool. Shout out to Kevin Carr too. His thing is movement is medicine. And obviously, you've probably been saying this as long as he's had a company, interrelation, but just understanding that movement is medicine and obviously moving your day every day is like any day you get to move your body is a blessing is even another I would say level to that part because I definitely think it's something people take for granted and definitely absolutely shouldn't, right?
Facts.
That being said, man, so we're gonna start obviously hot topic right now. Going back to sports is the Achilles tears in the NBA. So we had I think 3 in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 3 in the playoffs, and I think it was like 7 or 8 this season.
8 overall in the season. That clip you sent me was amazing. Thank you for that. That like with the percentage, we gotta shout out that doctor. What's the name of that doctor? Let's shout out that guy. So it's the Med-spired Nav Singh Badisha medical doctor. So yeah, he was touching base on the percentages and which I thought was the craziest thing, right? Was 11, which is like 400 or 500% higher than usual. But basketball is the most likely sport to have Achilles tears. So it's also something to definitely think about and add to the data or to the analysis, right? When we're asking why all these things are happening. But with that topic, right? Actually talking to somebody who had an Achilles tear that could kind of give us maybe a little bit of insight on anything, relating to this issue or what you from your perspective, what you think is happening alongside the NBA and what could be one of the culprits or villains, I guess, in this scenario.
Kind of like we were talking about. I think it kind of comes down to how much basketball these guys are playing, the intensity and the level that they're playing, and how often that they're playing. Some like back to backs every other night, like you said, not getting enough sleep. Either the nutrition isn't what it needs to be, and that all compounds. And you are putting yourself at a lot of risk just stepping out there every day as a basketball player unconsciously. Like you make these movements that you take for granted that you do every day, which is no different than what these guys did when they stepped out there. A step that they probably do every game and just you end up getting a flat tire. And unfortunately, something like a rupture happens.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the real way, I guess, to concise it and keep it super small is definitely that. It comes down to those, main factors, and it's a cocktail of things. It's definitely you can't really pin it down to one thing. A lot of the really good coaches that I follow on social media were getting at a lot of people for saying that people were like criticizing and saying, hey, they're not doing this or they're not doing that. But me and you were doing so much good things when your Achilles tear happened. So I'm feeling like I'm doing everything possible to keep you healthy. So I definitely don't think it's just the training. Like it's like we were saying, it's just so many factors that people don't really talk about. And when it comes to being hurt and even just feeling good, right? I think the sleep, the nutrition and the minutes, right? I think that's back to the main topic is the minutes are super important, like key KPI, right? Because, these guys have been playing a whole lot of basketball from like 12 years old. So when you're saying you're 27, Tony Hall or another real good coach of like that I really like, he was saying that like, yo, maybe those tendons are like got a lot of miles on it. And it's just different. It's just different when you got a lot of miles on the tendons and the ligaments. These are like much different joints than the muscles. So just like different types of muscular tissue, just in general, muscular fascia, whatever you want to call it, what we're made of, the things that the body's made of. So yeah, that's definitely a good way to concise it. And yeah, so tell us a little bit, man, about your injury, kind of some things that it taught you, and some things again for players that are maybe going through something like this or like a really tough injury, what they can think about. Obviously, you're feeling really good now. How many months? How many years and months post op?
I think this July would make it what 14, 15 months roughly. So like a year, 3 months. Pretty
Cool,
crazy how
cool, perfect.
the
So
time.
yeah, that's that. I love that because you're in that right space, so you can give people a little, some of like kind of what you went through, what to expect, and obviously that you definitely can come back and that things are, you can go back to normal. But it's definitely a super intense situation. So yeah, man, walk us through it.
Yeah, so I feel like most of these players who you probably watch tear their Achilles, like, comes as a complete shock. As a basketball player, when you go down, you almost instantly know what it is, especially if you're pretty attuned with your body and you've been playing this game all your life. It feels like nothing that you probably felt before as a player, but you know the severity of it at the same time. So I just remember in my head just being like, I can't believe this is what I think it is or what I know just happened. For me, it was more the shock factor more than the pain because I feel like the pain
Right.
was only like when it happened. And then
Hmm.
from there, obviously, it's tough to put weight on the foot, but it's more so just the shock of everything that you know you have coming ahead and then getting the diagnosis and things like that. So I would say the toughest part was just accepting what really happened at first. And then from there, you just kind of got to mentally prepare yourself for the long road ahead. Because, this injury isn't just like a sprained ankle where you're just going to be up and running again in 2 to 3 months. It's a mental grind. Like from the time you get surgery to be able to put weight on your foot again, it's at least 3.5, 4 months. So it really taught me to sit down, which I never really had to do. And that alone is a mental battle. Like I don't think many people are really forced to be with their thoughts for so long day after day because we're caught up in going to work every day or just doing things that keep us busy on somewhat of a hamster wheel. So something like that really requires just a lot of mental fortitude to be able to handle your own thoughts because it's easy to run away from them when you're just busy all the time. So that was probably the biggest challenge was just handling myself and not letting things get too dark and honestly just leaning on my support system. You realize that who you really have around you in those darkest moments when you can't be your normal self. So I thought that was pretty revealing as well about the whole situation. So, but ultimately I can look back on it and say I'm pretty thankful now to have learned from that experience and also be able to just push through. Because I mean, you have your down days where you don't, it just looks really bleak and you're just like, bruh, or maybe but just even the rehab process, it takes so much out of you, especially if you have the fortitude of wanting to come back to anything close that you were. It just takes a lot, man. Like you were part of that journey, bro. Like you saw when I was going to rehab 2 times a day or somewhat, maybe almost pushing it a bit too much to where I had to almost to dial it down to understand that the body has to still take its course and heal. You can't force the healing of that injury. It does take a bit of time, but as you can start ramping up, it's important to really fight that resistance because it definitely gets tough.
Well, what are some things that helped you through those dark times? What are some maybe some books you can recommend, or some things that you thought really put some things into perspective while being still or having to not be available to move?
Some things that really helped me out instantly, honestly, was watching other people go through it and kind of document their journey on YouTube. I was able to kind of like insert myself in their story a bit and see how just another human like me, who probably isn't in the NBA or at some crazy level, who is still able to kind of come back and be themselves. So just me being the type of person I am, I use that as motivation to know that I could push through this. So like I said, tapping into other people's stories who've been through it was pretty helpful. And then from there, like I mentioned, leaning on my support system. My family was huge through this all. My few closest friends. Can't say I have a bunch of them, but you're definitely one of those people who were tapped in with me during the journey because people got real weird on me during that time as well. Not saying I wasn't going through my own stuff internally, but I say it was very revealing. And then also tapped into just a lot of different books that helped me out. A couple of them I think we both has read. One was called The Gap in the Gain by Benjamin Hardy. Another really good one that helped me just get more in tune and aware of my thoughts and how I can control them was Asking It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. That one kind of taught me to understand my emotions better and view them as signals more as just all detrimental. So like being able to interpret them better and just kind of force myself to think differently when it seems super bleak. So
No,
just
that's
stepping into the right
dope.
numbers and
Yeah,
having
and The Gap in the Gain, you actually put me onto that book. That was and that's a book I think more people should, shout out to Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Honestly, I hope I get to meet Dan Sullivan because he's a super cool dude. Probably the coolest, oldest dude I've ever heard talk. Just so much wisdom. I think anybody looking to just like level up in their whole life, whether you're a business owner or not, if you're just trying to like be a little more in tune with your happiness and like be like almost I think people don't think you can learn to be happy, right? What do you think about that?
It's a trait, like you've mentioned. Like if you're aware of it, like that book brought a lot of awareness to it. Like you can control, like you can have a bad day, or you can let 5 minutes screw up your whole day. You can choose to be happy about something that can turn your day around as well. It's about how long we choose to hold on to these emotions and being able to recognize them as when
Yeah,
we're
the
in
gap.
the gap or
Gap
at
in
the
the
beginning.
game, like, if you're living in the gap, right? It has tons of examples. So anybody just really trying to, tap into a different level of like having and staying in a good mood and having that good energy and like energy so powerful and how you like what's the word? I can't even describe it, but like how you ball the energy up and like contour it. It's like huge into like how things kind of go for you and so I think it's important for people to be aware that they can have more of a decision on that because I think nowadays people really don't think that's how it works. They think that they have their own emotions, but they're not really being aware that a lot of things on the outside are actually causing a lot of the ways people think. So yeah, gap in the game's huge, and obviously asking it is given, especially because most people get that book for like the whole manifestation type of thing, but within it is what you understand about the emotions and your emotions and where you are on the motion scale and how to tap into like better emotions, right? If you are in low emotions and you need to like get out of it because you can't just jump levels. Like you can't go from being like, let's say like negative level 10 to ecstatically happy, from one level to the other, you know? So things have to be gradual. So that book really helps people break down. Like if anybody listening, that you're interested in that, like that book can really show you how you can navigate this like almost ladder of emotions to get yourself to stay in more of those better or quote unquote better emotions. Right? So moving forward with that, right? So we touched on the Achilles, right? What do you think is when coming back from coming back, like what's the most important thing that people should be doing to try to get back to the to level that they were at? That program because you did a lot of different things, but a few things that you thought like really helped out or felt really feel like helped you feel better.
First off, I gotta credit like I said, the team of help around me. I couldn't have gotten back to this level without God and then the help of people like you, Coach Ken, to be completely honest. So, like I say, first starts with having a team of people that supports you, that have love for you, and actually want to see you come back as well. Because, like I said, you do have those down days. So that was huge for me. Second would be to also, if just also, like I say, with the help, to still do what you can outside of that as well. Let's say you're seeing a trainer maybe a couple times a week. There's always stuff that you could be doing at home. So just never be too comfortable with just doing enough, even though you still do need enough time to heal, but just always be trying to push yourself to that limit to where it's like, all right, I'm not pushing it too much, but I'm doing just enough to like not re-injure myself. So that was huge for me. And then another thing as well that I thought really helped me out was getting in the pool once or twice a week, coupled with the ice bath, which was pretty new for me with consistencies. I thought that really helped me out with the process as well.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, so let's talk a little bit about that. Like ice baths. You actually got me into the ice baths again. And obviously for me it's more of a mental thing than anything else. I just think it does something for your mind. But what else do you like about it? Like obviously what are some things you noticed or like that people maybe if they're thinking about why to do the ice baths, like what are some things you feel like it helps with or it does for humans in general?
But just me personally, I don't think there was any other form of recovery that had my body feeling like that type of like people have probably heard of like runner's high, but
Hmm.
there's a type of feeling you get like within 5 minutes of coming out that water where your body's like you almost feel like you're glowing or it just feels it's hard to explain until you actually
Great way to describe it though. Great way to describe it. Yeah. It's that post for sure.
So, and then from there, like just realizing how much better I was getting mentally, just accepting the coldness of it all, like each time. Like I've documented a lot of my journey in the ice, and I remember my first time just like screaming up like a little girl, like not being able to handle the ice for more than 3 to 6 minutes, and then I'm able to do up to 12 minutes with ease. Just seeing how you can do something hard and it can get easier for you just as long as you attack it with the right attitude. So I
Right.
thought they were.
We're kind of learning about that with the anti-fragile book, right? It's kind of like the point of the book, right?
So I thought it was actually pretty cool looking back on my journey to see how I was able to apply like a anti-fragile mindset to things that I maybe was unconscious about, but I was still applying that mindset to grow in a similar way.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like yeah, it's a book people got to read. I can't even explain it yet because it's definitely not for a novice reader, I would say. But if you want to challenge yourself, like go ahead, I'm all for it. But it's definitely a tough read, but it's really good. Like the book is really good. Like you'll learn the first 10 pages something you didn't know before. that'll help you. And we're talking about like examples, not just like jargon or like whatever, like examples, so you can like actually understand what he means by the whole anti-fragile approach. And yeah, I've always said it with the exercises, dosing, right? It's like, how much do we dose? It's like, if we go too little, then nothing happens, right? But we also don't want to burn the steak. So like, we don't want to undercook the steak because it could make us sick, right? We also don't want to burn the steak because then we can't eat it because like not no good no more. You're trying to find that even middle. That middle for exercise, it's that middle is that dosage, like enough to push a little more, right? Enough to get the body out of that comfort zone, but not to overdo it to the point that now we have adverse side effects. And then same thing the other way, nothing happens on the side of the comfortable zone. So I think that's super cool that we touch base on that right there, and how it relates obviously to working out. It's definitely part of the whole point why people should work out all the time. It's just something that makes you stronger and tougher, because if you just can do it for a long period of time and you're challenging yourself, it's like a callus, That's the way he describes it in one example. It's like a callus. It like gets tougher and it doesn't hurt, and you can handle more and you can do more. And obviously, I think every adult should be doing some type of exercise. Obviously, I think I'm gonna be more on the side of resistance training for us. But me and you know from experience like the benefits of working out. And like from you, not from a coaching, like what are some things that you think are some of the hidden benefits of exercising that some people that are not coaches, that you've learned from just doing it?
Okay. The biggest, I feel like, unlocks were like mainly mental, just like being able to push yourself, your body. Like we all have maybe somewhat type of limits that we set for ourselves, but until you go to the gym, you don't know what they are and what type of person you are to push through them until you actually get in the gym or get into the game. Because it's easy to like judge people in the gym for the routines and what you might see them doing, but you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes and see where they're coming from to where they are now. So for me, I just never regret how I feel leaving the gym. I always feel good, for one. For two, as I've learned more about mobility working with you, just things have naturally improved, like my hip flexibility, even knowing about what that is now and how that affects everything else. Your ankle mobility, me understanding how important that is to be able to move better on the court, like because I work out more to as a basketball player as opposed to like somebody who's just trying to be super swole. So I like to keep my movement that helps me in my everyday life and with the sport that I love to play as well. Those have been major unlocks for me, just understanding how mobility kind of translates into your everyday life and the longevity of that life that you do want to have.
And I'll see. So again, guys, the mobility, I think all the time. I talk about all the time to people, and I'm like a big what if pro mobility. I think it's so cool. I think some options for people listening. You could always go and do some yoga, right? You could vouch for that. You did the yoga too, right? It has that effect. I think people don't get that yoga is just mobility for like 35 minutes plus your final like 15-minute meditation thing. But the other 35, so it's you're doing like a 35 to 40-minute mobility routine. So that's why the yoga to me is so transformational. And I think people, if they do it again, like show up consistently and do it, you see a lot of change in the way you move and like the positions you can get in. And yeah, you just feel different. You just feel better. And I think ultimately anything we're trying to do, we have so many, what's the word, stimuli in the reality right now, right? We have so many that we could choose from, but there's few that make us better the more we expose to them. So I think trying to tap into that is something that just smart, like working out is part of that. Mobility, obviously, if you're doing it within your workout, is part of that. Reading books is part of that. It's things that, like, the more you do them, the better you become from them. There's a lot of things in the reality that the more you do them, the worse it makes your life. So I think just being aware of those choices and seeing what you're doing with your time is something that me and you've been talking about and obviously working on for a while, because we see the power that it can have.
Facts, bro. You put me on the foam roller, I think back, what, like 2020, 2021.
Right.
Haven't put it down since, man. Like bro, I went to the gym without it today. I had to use a regular foam roller and I just felt weird. I missed my Rogo one, bro.
Shout out to Rolga. Shout out to Rolga. They're gonna love this. Guys, shout out to Rolga, best roller in the game. And we don't just shout them out because we give me a little love. You guys order something with my code. But they I just before I even ever had a relationship with them, we used the rollers. I've been using the rollers. Shout out to Michael Boyle for putting us on Roga, obviously too. But Roga is such an awesome company. They're such good people, and their technology is just awesome. Like once you try one of those rollers, and then you try one of the other rollers, it's like night and day. But peep this: I had one adult client, and they were saying that like the Roga hurt them. They don't like it.
Really? Okay, I guess I like that resistance. That kind of helps me out.
Yeah, it depends. By the way, the rollers come in three different intensities, like soft, medium, and hard. We usually do the foam roller that's more on the denser side, the stronger one, the most strong one. So yeah, there's options. But yeah, hey, it works for everybody. But for sure, don't knock it till you try it because it definitely is it's a game changer. And then follow it up with your mobility. I mean, it just works great. You feel better. Yeah, I think do you think all the stuff we do before the workout? Okay, before I ask that, how do you feel when you're done working out most of the time? At least with me. Like, do you usually feel good, like super taxed, or are you kind of good? Like, how do you usually feel after your workout?
I usually feel pretty
Sore
good.
wise, let's talk sore wise. Sore wise.
I usually feel pretty good, not like super taxed, like you said. We're just like right at that point where we're not burning the steak or doing anything too crazy to where you feel like
I
you're in.
always say, could you go do a basketball session after?
Oh yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. It's not
That's
like
always my that's how
100%.
I always tell you about that, right? Like that's what I try to approach with my all my youth athletes, right? Is like and even my adults, right? Like you might have to go to work. If you have to go to work after, like you're probably gonna feel better at work to keep it 100,000%. Basketball session or something like that, or like a basketball practice or any type of sport practice is gonna be a lot more intense. I think physical wise than going to work. But I think you definitely could take that good feeling and roll with it. So for I think adults you do that. You actually work out before you go to work a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, either before I go to work or before I actually play ball, I like to work out before that.
Just, another insight from another person, to back some of the stuff. I'm always like, yo, guys, yeah, I got to do it like this. It definitely helps. It makes a difference. But again, you don't know until you try it. Don't knock it till you do it, till you try it.
Kind of to add to that, like we say how we work out more like hoopers, bro, to be able to
Mhm.
still hoop after you work out. It makes a big difference as opposed to maybe working out like a bodybuilder and then when you try to go shoot the rock, like you need like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to kind of like de-stiff yourself.
Well, I think for the bodybuilders, I think the only thing bodybuilders have to change in their approach is that they have to do the mobility stuff. I don't really know if that would take away from your muscle gains, you know? That would be something too that maybe I can eventually meet some swole bodybuilding homies and we could, maybe put it to a thesis or whatever. But yeah, I think because, I know for sure as we work out, we've gotten, more muscular and we've also gotten more flexible. So necessarily getting more muscular doesn't make you less flexible. What makes you less flexible is just not working on your flexibility, like on your mobility, just not doing anything about it. So I think we've learned that just the more, you do it, the better it gets, but you won't see no growth without that constant like little push because it is uncomfortable.
I actually do have kind of a follow-up question that
Huh?
as far as like when it comes to like mobility work and working out, like why do you think maybe more hoopers aren't in tune to it or tapped in with that type of style of
It's the
working
same
out?
thing.
Because
I think it's knowledge based, but I think it's the same thing like adults. It's just not fun.
I've had people say to me, "Oh, you don't lift that heavy," but that doesn't make me weak in any way. I'm probably stronger than I've ever been. I lift 225, but I'm just not.
So based on that, that's a great way for you to put it, right? That's a great way for you to put it. Like people might be like, damn, but you don't ever really go heavy. Like you don't ever max out or you don't ever do this, right? I think it's all depending on who's doing it, right? Like a kid that's trying to go, from high school and D1. Like, we might have to really push a couple times and see how strong you really are. Maybe like once or twice. I still don't do that with my youth athletes, but I'm just saying like risk to reward. How much, you want to go D1, that's a big reward. The risk has to be high. We might have to put a little more, might have to lift a little more, do some exercises that are a little more intense, right? More aggressive. I'm obviously never trying to hurt athletes, but just, with that caution, yeah, the cautiousness would be the right word, right? To like, we're trying to push, get the job done, but we also don't want to hurt you. But we are doing something that might be a little more intense than something I would do or me and you would do, because we're not trying to go pro. We're just trying to we're just trying to feel good, stay strong, and obviously we do load to an extent, but I think we understand it from a pound for pound type of thing, right? Like to me, I'm always like easy. I weigh 125, so when I'm doing 100-pound split squat. Like, that's 3/4 of my weight. Like, could I do 120 for 5? 3 sets of 5? Of course, but, like, I'd rather do 3 sets of 8 at 100 or even 90, right? And just like, because I might be really sore already from work. I've also been working out a couple days leading into that day maybe, and like I'm just not feeling the greatest, so I'm gonna dose accordingly. And then, when you feel good, you could push a little bit, but just like anything, the more you push, just, like I think that's what people don't realize is like as you push, you're gonna keep getting sore too. So it's like if you're searching for that soreness, then you gotta go a little more and you gotta go a little heavier and you gotta push yourself a little more. But if not, if you want to just feel really good and feel strong, then you watch, how much you're gonna, what your dosage is like. And for the people that are like, they might lift, I feel like a lot of people who lift heavy are always hurt. What do you think?
I think that too, because like at the same time, like I still like to load every now and then. I'm just not doing that every time or going to my max every workout. But I do like to see where I'm at as far as strength wise. I'm still trying to progress. Like you mentioned, I'm not trying to like overly hurt myself or push myself past the red line every workout. Like, I just don't think that's necessary for my fitness goals. Everybody has different goals that they should have before they even start a routines.
But realistically though, regardless of the fitness goal, if you push it to the red line, you're not your son's gonna go, especially if you're older, like if you're over 30, like look how fit and strong and athletic you were, and you had an Achilles tear. So I think people really have to understand that like anything can happen at any given time, regardless of what we do. You should still do it, but just understand that like you have to be aware of how much you're pushing, because regardless of your goal, if you over push, like it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? We know that for sure. Even your rehab process, that was like a really long process of progressional exercises to get to like dunking a basketball again, right? Which he's doing again, by the way, guys. And I think you were saying that you kind of felt like you're jumping a little better, right?
Yeah, bro. Thankfully, like I mentioned, as a hooper, if I did tear any Achilles, I'm more thankful that it was my right foot. But I don't feel like I'm that far off jumping wise and where I was before injury. Or I've gotten at least closer to I thought I ever would. Honestly, before I started this journey, I was just hoping I could get anywhere close. But like there isn't much I can't do as before that I got. Like I'm
Awesome. It's a beautiful. I just love so people know that like, getting hurt is not the end of the world. It does suck. It's gonna set into reality a lot of things for you, but it's even more reason to move your body and take care of it. And I think Jay, you would say, right, like thank God you were fitted in shape before you got hurt, right? Like I feel like that helped you not only come back, but it also helped you deal with all the like stillness that you had to experience because your body kind of, did you remember you told me, kind of degenerated a little bit too because you weren't being as active, right?
Oh yeah, the atrophy is a real thing, and I feel like it doesn't even just apply to just your muscles. It comes to your skills or whatever that you just leave stagnant and don't put any energy back into. It gets worse or it kind of eventually dies out. So it's important to put that energy back into yourself and maintain yourself to the highest level that you see yourself being.
All right. So now let's go a little bit into a little bit of your world for a little bit at least, So, I'll call you the content strategist. This is JR's actually been, if you like my social media, he's been big part of like how I do what I do, and tons of knowledge that we've helped each other find and implement, and that we actually like try things and do things. And so I want to give, Jay a big thank you for that, because he's definitely been one of my homies who, has been techie and really just making me understand this whole thing that we're doing from a business side of things with the content strategy. But we'll like tell us a little bit about content creation and being a entrepreneur. Shout out to Aston CEO Aston, but shout out to the contentpreneurs. I definitely feel like that's more of the vibe I'm on for sure, because I do create content all the time, but it definitely has to do with my business. Go ahead, man.
Man, so my content journey, bro, it's been pretty life-changing. I'm just glad that I decided to start because I know that's the hardest thing maybe for some people, just getting that engine going. It's been about, let's say I'm about 6 years in now, and I feel like there's no better time to be kind of in the space that we're in and having to have developed the skills that we have so far. There's no time wasted going into learning the skills, especially now more than ever, where I think it's almost as valuable as it could be, as more people are just addicted to doom scrolling and competing for attention. Like I mentioned, as more people are doom scrolling, competing for attention. It's a good way to position yourself, especially as somebody if you can deliver value and you want to do more than just entertain people. It's a great way to get your message out, be a life source for your business. Because things are changing pretty fast, like especially with AI coming out and things like that. It's important to already know how to do this, or at least learn how to do it as fast as you can. Because God forbid something like COVID happens again, when more people are forced to stay inside and you're gonna wanna know how to wish you learned this skill, to create things, not just to create random stuff, but just to maybe document your journey and be able to help others if the world goes to crap again.
And no, definitely, I think the main thing, like, keep touching base on is helping others. I think ultimately, whatever you're gonna do with with you able to market yourself or like show what you do or who you are, however you want to approach it, it's that if you're really trying to help people, like it's gonna just be organic, you know. So for people out there trying to create content, like when I stopped thinking so much about what I was trying to do, and I was just like, hey, what, you know, all any of this information that I give out is free game, you know, because I know for 100% it works. I know 100% it works. Why? Because you can't coach over, you know, two, 300 people and see similar results and then say that it's a lie. So when I started really thinking about it that way, I'm like, dang, I've helped so many people already. Why am I having such a hard time showing what I already do? You know? But I think once you realize that, hey, this is just for me to help people and anybody can watch and learn something, you know, and like how we learn something from other bright people. Definitely always comes back circle to that. What about content as a business tool for businesses? Like, what do you think that translates? And I feel it goes with exactly what we were just talking about.
So when it comes to your business, if you probably haven't noticed, if you're on social media, every business is almost forced to be on there to have somewhat of a presence to stay relevant to your audience because it's a battle for attention. And not saying that you need everybody's attention or all the views, but you do need the right views, or at least want to be able to position yourself to where whatever you do have out there that it can land on those eyes that can actually connect with you. Because chances are, I wouldn't recommend everybody trying to create something that caters to everybody, as you're not really going to be able to help or single in on the people that you could actually help the most. So, like you mentioned, if you can, well, a filter I like to use when it comes to posting or creating is that if you can help one person, especially that fits your ideal person or avatar, then it's worth putting out there, especially if it's with some specific knowledge that you have or something that you've been doing long enough that somebody doesn't know as much about as you. Even if somebody else has said it before, like they haven't said it in your voice and they don't have the same audience you have. So that's been a huge distinction for me when it comes to just getting stuff out there, regardless if you think somebody else is teaching it or have said it before. Just finding your own voice and knowing that if you do what you actually talk about and not talk from theory, there's always somebody that can definitely help.
That's a great way to put it. Yep. It's not from theory. Definitely gonna be more organic and it's gonna be not as thought processing, right? More action driven. And then from there, another thing that I think, you know, really put me on is like how to use the AI, right? I think people are just using it like to ask it questions. But this thing, it's a tool, man. It's a tool. That's why you can't just ask it questions. I feel like it's better used to help you gather information, to help you simplify information, right? And of course, just having those little things, connecting little programs with it and doing little things that, again, is not common knowledge to people that you are actually one of the few people that is already on this wave. You know, maybe you want to tell the audience a little bit about that and just that approach that you've been doing with AI.
Yeah, so I'm pretty bullish on AI. It is important to have boundaries around how you use it and remember that it's still a machine. It's not a human being. Like it's not anything to be too emotionally attached to. But at the same time, if you look at it as a tool that could enhance your ability or make some things a bit easier for you, that could help save some time or make you retain something better. I think that's a great use of it because, like I said, people who are actually using it the right way as opposed to more so just asking questions can it's kinda hard to really keep up with the way they can advance compared to someone who's using it just to maybe as like a Google search or asking basic questions. It's like you mentioned, it is a really powerful tool. I use it daily for things like to help me retain more of what I've learned, to go deeper into things that I'm learning about, and like you mentioned, to gather research and just simplify simple processes, man. Like, I think I was with you the other day when we were watching a video on YouTube and we wanted to figure out what book she was talking about really quickly. And so as opposed to having to rewatch the video or kind of skim through it, you can just use AI, go through the transcript, ask it a quick question, and be able to retrieve the answer that way. So things like that really help me out.
Really powerful. Yeah. The only thing, of course, that I want to always let people know to remember is that AI does hallucinate sometimes 44 to 75%, depending on like what you're asking it. So when you ask it anything, if it gives you sources, just double check it to make sure that it's official. Don't just take everything it says at face value. Cause it does make it really does make mistakes. And that's why, like I say, to me, putting the information in it and asking it to do stuff on your information and your research and other people's information, other people's research, I think that's a smarter way to use it than just to ask it something and see what it tells you. Because um it just that's the only dangerous side of it. But like we were saying, saving time, making something easier for you, or teaching you how to learn better, learn more, and retain more of the more valuable information. Right? I think that's super important. So finishing on that, man. Finishing back to working out. What are some exercises that you enjoy, and some exercises that you recommend that people should do that maybe they're not familiar with, that either make you feel much better or maybe just give you like what you're looking for in that specific workout, like that exercise, and it like gives you more out of what you're looking for than like the exercise you were doing before?
All right, so from more of a hooping standpoint, with the way I work out, something I've grown to love and I've never done before I started working out with you was a simple like RDL, and then being able to load that, either doing it without weights or loading it with weights, doing it on a BOSU or just doing it regular single leg, double leg, just different variations of it. It's probably like one of my favorite underrated exercises that I've learned about so far, and then being able to see my progress of how like my patterns have gotten better of how doing it compared to like my leg flying out too far, it wasn't as clean as I wanted it to look. So I think that's definitely one of my favorite, most underrated exercises.
A single leg deadlift, guys, that exercise is awesome. Everybody should be doing it. I think it's such a good exercise, like for old people, youth athletes, everybody could benefit from that one. Any other one?
Another one, I would say, kind of related to the lower body because I've never really loved to learn lower body, like I said, until it was more mobility related. So another one, it's like the split.
Squat. Yeah, split squat's another staple in the programming. Definitely really dope.
Yeah, split squats, and then I know like the box jumps as well. That's been one of my favorites. I never used to really do that until I started working out. Like I said with you, I think that's one of my favorites as well.
Awesome, awesome, man. Oh, thank you for that we get some out of the training, and there's some stuff that you enjoy, because I think that's important when working out. You got to try to find some extra, not overcomplicated, but just find some exercises, stick to them, do them over time. Like I think that's the main thing you've realized, right? Working on these exercises is just like you're doing them pretty often. You're not getting too fancy with it. You just go light sometimes, go heavy sometimes, just work in the pattern, maybe just activate. Maybe you go slow sometimes, go fast sometimes, like all that stuff can be different ways to mix up the exercises. But working on the patterns over time really does like just align a lot of things for the body. And that's why I like that approach of the patterns, aka lifts, whatever you want to call them, exercises. Certain ones definitely kind of get the body in that homeostasis kind of balanced approach. And when you're moving better, you definitely gonna play better, perform better, and obviously as an adult, you probably will feel a lot better than you currently feel.
I almost forgot to add in that the importance of the core too, man. Like I never, like I said, I was just working out too. I never really locked in on these things like lower body and core has been a huge game changer and just getting stronger overall and just having a solid. You gotta have a solid foundation there to make everything else a bit smoother for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were always a great athlete, Jay. So, I mean, definitely coaching with you and seeing like, dang, we're going to get Jay moving even better. He already moves good, but like, getting all these patterns cleaned up. Cause I think even people who are good athletes, they don't realize until somebody puts them in that position and like challenges them. And it's like, yeah, maybe I can't really get into some of these positions, or like, some of these don't feel as comfortable. And again, these are patterns that, everybody should be able to do. And guess what? When I screen people, the better moving people are usually the better athletes. And so as something to think about, if your screen is shitty, I'm not saying that it's the end of the world or anything, because that's the whole point. I use it as a metric to get my athletes better. But like usually not moving as good, or you tend to be more on the hurt side, or maybe you're not, yeah, you're playing at the level that you feel like you should be playing. But it's like, yeah, when you're screening, 9, 10, 11, we're looking for 14s, and then you get sometimes people that'll do 1920s, and those tend to be the people that are high level college guys, or the pros. So I mean, whether you say it's correlation or not, I mean, I haven't screened everybody to tell you, but just in my experience with some of the players I've been, that's what it's came down to. So I think should be the point of working out, is to hopefully get a little healthier and feel a little better.
So I have actually a follow-up question to you since we're still on, because I feel like more people would benefit from a coach, or even if it's not forever, but just to learn how to, like you mentioned, clean up those patterns, have another person see what you don't see when you work out. If you're just going to the gym off your own will and what you see on the internet, you don't have nobody kind of guiding you when you aren't doing something that's wrong. Why do you think it's so important for people to maybe invest in a coach or to maybe look at the benefits of coaching more than they actually do?
I think I'll start it off with, most of the surgeries that people have for like their knees or their back or their shoulders, uh, they're like 40, $50,000, right? You can probably hire a trainer. Because I think to me the way to use the trainer smart is to, either find some way to go digital with the trainer somehow where you can get a better price but more exposure to the training. Or if you're really gonna be down to spend the money on the individual and get a good coach, to try to learn what you're doing there and repeat it. And I think that's the hard part for people to do. So that's where like getting a coach really helps you because you're gonna have to learn these things for a while. But if you invest, let's say you invested, $8,000 a year into some coaching for just 1 year. And then from there, you try to took what you learned there and kept working out on your own. I think the next 2, 3 years are gonna be really good. As opposed to you working out by yourself for like 3 years, not really seeing a lot of change, wondering what's happening, or maybe, you have knee pain, have shoulder pain, have low back pain, and you don't know that like getting or some really good coaching and working on certain things can like help a lot of those nagging injuries go away. So I think, but again, people invest into it because they don't think it's a necessity because it's really not. You could go exercise and figure it out by yourself. It's just gonna take you longer, and I think that applies to any level. Like, you've helped me out with a lot of video stuff and whatever, and I helped you. I paid you for your services and things because like I needed your help. I didn't know how to do that stuff, so I think that's where people gotta like humble down a bit and be like, hey, I don't know how to do that. This guy knows how to do that. It could save me 3 years and 1 year. I feel like that time is so valuable. And again, you're just gonna get more out of it. And I'll go a story deeper to show you the whole point of it. First 4 times I went snowboarding, I didn't get the lesson. Right. The first three, I really honestly felt like I wasted my time and my money because I was barely able to get on the board. We was on the kiddie slope, just not fun. I mean, it was fun, but like just not productive. That's the word. But I get the fourth. On the fourth, I get it right, and I did the whole thing, the whole day. Me and my cousin did really good till the mid break. Right, the guy goes up to us. He's like, "Yo, you guys are good. You all ready for to do the big mountain?" So we went from the kiddie mountain in one day. We went from the kiddie mountain to doing the big mountain just because we spend the money on the actual good coaching. So I think that's relatable to the same thing in the weight room. Yeah, I might not get you to squat 350 in one session if you only squat 150, but I definitely think we could feel a lot better and you could feel like you could climb a mountain after a workout. Cause that's why I asked you earlier, like, how do you feel after the workouts, right? But I think one of the cool things is you always feel better after exercising. So imagine getting that high after the working out, but also learning how to do it well. So eventually, every workout is a good workout, and you're getting better every time. I don't think there's a better selling point to anybody who's not exercising right now and wants to start exercising to know that that's the real reason why you probably want to pick up this habit is because like over time you will feel better, you will get better, and you'll see like you were saying earlier in the podcast, a lot of mental things will shift, improve. But there's nothing. It's not describable. It's something only the person can attain from actually going through the journey.
Oh yeah, definitely. But like I said, just to tap on what you were saying a little bit, like when it comes to the coaching, I just I feel like I would hope more people just have a different view on it because it doesn't even just apply to the gym. Like whether it applies to life, like you got to be always remain coachable, remain a student to a certain level because nobody knows everything, and there's always somebody else that can help guide you along who's been there, done that. And if you value your time and you can kind of like put your ego to the side a little bit, you can get more out of these experiences by seeking that help because if you got to go do something for yourself and learn it from ground zero, and as opposed to somebody who already has all these years of experience, like what makes more sense based on the amount of time that you have to do things. Like, so I'm all about shortcutting the learning curve. Being coached or remaining coachable has helped transform my life and continues to transform my life. So like I'm always a student. I recommend to try to see the world through that lens a bit. Like you can always be better. If the greatest can have coaches or people already at the certain levels that you see have mentors, it's like what makes you any better than them to think that you don't need extra help? Like, I feel like that's just a bit of ignorance. Just I want to close with that, just saying remain remain coachable. Nobody knows everything, but you could always learn from somebody a couple steps ahead.
Yeah, the main the quote that comes to mind is the forever student is the true master. You know, the true masters never stop learning, man. And I think yeah, a lot of the successful people that we know and read books on or like people admire, I think those people are always really trying to learn more and improve, and that's why they continuously do get better. So yeah, man, Jay, I want to
I
give a huge thank you.
wanted to
Like I
add
said, I
something.
always appreciate you, everything you've taught me. Please check my boy out if you need help with content strategy or like just figuring out how to run your Instagram better. Also, if you're looking to learn how to use AI in a smart way, you know, tap in with Jay. I'm gonna obviously put all his some of his things so you guys can follow him at the bottom of the on the script notes on description notes. So just tap in and give him a follow. And man, thank you so much, man. Anything you want to sign off with?
No, I appreciate you having me, man. This was a really dope conversation. Be on the look for some. I got some merch dropping soon, and also some cool products I'm working on. So, and also a weekly newsletter, or I try to drop it like bi-weekly for my audience. I put a lot into that, and I hope I'm trying to get it to connect more with the right people. But other than that, man, like I said, I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah,
every.
just I'll put the link there. You send me the link, and I'll put the link there for the newsletter also.
Okay, fire, fire, fire.
Yes,
Like I said,
yes,
it's a dope,
that's
man.
smart.
Appreciate.
You're my strategy content coach, so appreciate you. So coaches connection, guys. All types of coaches come through. It's not always just gonna be to the sports side of things. And yeah, man, let's remain coachable. Let's remain forever students. Let's become real masters. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and thanks again, Jay, man. We'll link up soon. I know we're gonna have you more on here too, anyway. So
I
y'all
definitely will
stay
come
tuned.
back, man. This was dope.